Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Got something a little bit different that I want to do today. So what we've got here are 3 of the plastic sets from Wargames Atlantic. They're for their Age of Chivalry range. So these fit in with the Baron's War from Footsore Miniatures and Games. They're sculpted by Rob McFarlane, but they are designed to fit in with the sculpts done by Paul Hicks. So there are some similarities in the models and the poses and the weapons that they've got. What has excited me about these ones is that they are apparently interchangeable. So the arms and the weapons and some of the heads can be swapped between different models. And I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and I left a comment on it. And then Andy Hobday, who works at Footsore, but now also is involved with Wargames Atlantic, he left a comment on my comment saying, drop me an email. So I sent him an email, and he very kindly arranged to send these 3 boxes out to me for free. So very excited because this is something I've wanted to get for quite a while. Also very excited because it's free stuff, and let's be honest, who doesn't like free models? So thank you to Andy, massive thank you. What I'd like to do with these kits is try to test to see how sort of versatile they are, because one of the selling points that has been pushed by Wargames Atlantic and by Footsore Miniatures is that these are interchangeable. So you can use the arms and weapons and helmets from one kit in another, so you can swap and change between the 3. Now there's obviously some limitations, that you wouldn't be wanting to give the peasants a knight's mailed arm with a sword. But what I want to be able to see is, are there any areas in the Baron's War range that there aren't models for in metal, and can those gaps be filled with these boxes? So I've got the Baron's War website up here. I'm going to open these up. I'll have a look through. I'll show you what's on the sprues. There's plenty of other videos out there doing unboxings of these, but I want to see what exactly is in the box, and we'll see if there's any gaps we can fill. So, for example, I know that foot sergeants with 2-handed weapons, there's no metal model available for that. Foot knights as well. When you buy foot knights, they're either equipped with a sword or a 2-handed weapon. So there's no sort of like, there's no mace, there's no horseman's pick, those other options which could be used during the game. I'll stop here, I'll turn the camera around, I'll open up each box, I'll show you what's in there, and we'll count out how many sprues of each are available. So let's start off with the foot knights. So this was the first set that was released, and I think they've been out for a few months now. So let's have a look what's in the box. So there's 4 sprues, and these, I should say, there's 24 models in the box. They're good from 1150 up to 1320, so sort of like Anarchy and probably the first and second Baron's War. I think that's mainly because you start to see from about sort of like the mid 1300s, you start to see more plate armor being used. You start to see different styles of helms, and things start to sort of like change slightly as the quality of the armor gets better. Something to note, that this does not come with bases. The box doesn't come with bases, so you need to pick them up. I managed to get quite a few off of eBay quite cheap. I think I managed to get 100 for about £3 or £4. A little bit on the blurb on the back here. So it says the box allows you to build 24 foot knights with a wide variety of weapons, including axe, falchion, spear, mace, and a sword. Doesn't look like, oh no, there is a mace. That's good. So one of the things I wanted to make sure was that there were different options available, because, as I've said, the foot knights that you get in a minute come with sword, which is fine, or 2-handed weapon. You don't get any other options. It would be quite nice to have a group of knights armed with mace. So, yes, there's 4 sprues, 6 miniatures on each sprue. So it looks like you've got the 6 lower body options, and they're the same across the 4 sprues. You've then got the 6 torso options. Quite glad to see. So there's the option here where he's sort of like holding the helmet under his arm. I'm quite glad to see that's optional, because I wouldn't really want to have more than one of those in my set. You've got a number of swords, separate swords. We've got mailed arms with swords. We've got shields, so there's 6 shields there. Nice to see they've included a kite shield as well. You don't normally get those in the metal packs. They're normally either the large heaters or the small heaters. You can see a mace here. We've got what looks like a 2-handed falchion. We've got a 2-handed axe. We've got swords. Oh no, we've got a pick. We've got another mace. We've got spears. Now I don't think that foot knights can be armed with spears in the Baron's War game, so that could be quite a good proxy for a banner. You can fit a banner in there, and the rest of it's sort of like a selection of one-handed axes, falchions, and then across the bottom here we've got the head options. I really like this one here. You can't see it very well on there, but it's this guy, this sort of like red. I like that helmet option a lot, so I'll probably be using that. But there's definitely plenty of head options. So there's 12 different head options on there. So it's quite interesting. So we'll be able to use some of these with the Sergeant's box, which is great. All of the arms have got mail, so we'll have to be quite wary of which Sergeant bodies we're using. So good selection on there. In terms of what we can use with other kits, we'll have to see what else is in there. So 4 of those, 24 models. Buy your own bases. Let's move on now to the Sergeants. So again, 24 models, bases not included. These ones, it says they're good from about 1150 to 1320, which is the same as the Foot Knights. Except these, you can see there's some different options that will be available in the kit. And on the back it says, 24 Sergeants with a wide variety of weapons, including falchion, spear, halberd and crossbow. And looking on here, we can see, definitely see some spears, some falchions, some bills, which is good, because at the minute, if you want to get bills, you either have to buy the 3D printed bill heads from Footsore, or you can buy, I think they sell metal bills, but it's quite nice to have the option for plastic available, so you can add more. Alright, let's see what's in here. I know that the composition of this box is slightly different. So alright, we've got 4 sprues which have got the body parts on it and weapons, and then we've also got this additional weapon sprue. So I'm not sure if this will be available separately, but I know on eBay I have seen people selling individual sprues for the Knights and the Sergeants, and possibly now that they're out, the Levy, which I think is great, because 24 is a lot of models. You don't normally need that many for a Baron's War retinue. So if you can pick them up and you only need a handful of them, then picking up the individual sprues is great. Similarly, if you need to pick up more weapons, this sprue is jam-packed. But let's have a look at this first. So again, you've got the six leg parts. We've got, instead actually here, we've got 8 torso options. So there's a little bit of a difference there. We've got 6 shields again. We've got some other little sort of like, what do you call them, accoutrements sort of thing. So it looks like a flagon for some wine. There's a mat rolled up, pouch. We've got sort of like sheathed falchions. We've got a sort of like a bag of bolts there for a crossbow. Head-wise, there's a lot of head options actually. I like these kettle helmets a lot. I really like these. There's a selection of sort of like bear heads as well. There's an arm with a spear. And interestingly, looking at these arms actually, how these differ from the knights, the mail only comes to the elbow, whereas on the knights, the mail, of course, goes right the way down the arm. So I have to be aware of that when we sort of like swap and change. Got another one here where he's got the helmet under his shoulder. That's quite nice. An arm here reaching for some bolts. Again, we've got crossbows, we've got swords, falchions, spear. I like the detail on the crossbows as well. I do need a couple of extra crossbows. A horn, and again a spear which is being held aloft, so again, could double up as a banner. So I guess you could use these quite easily to create command groups. You could have a commander, you could have a banner, and you could have a musician. Now, looking at this next sprue, and they are all on this sprue only, they're numbered, which is great. So you can work out roughly what goes with what. So you can see here, this one here is H1, this is H2. So that means that this spear works with this arm, which is good because otherwise it could be quite difficult to work it out. Well, what have we got then on here? So we've got a number of bills, halberds, whatever you want to call them. I'll get focused a bit better. Yeah, so we've got a number of halberds and bills. We've got spears. Lots of spears, actually. Lots and lots of spears. Arguably, actually, that's all that we have got on here. Halberds and spears. So that's interesting. I thought there'd be a bit more variety. Let me just check the book quickly. So, sergeants can be equipped with a mace. We don't have a mace option. That's unfortunate. I would have liked some more mace. Swords, yeah, there's sword options. There's also falchion options. Crossbows, yes, there's crossbow options on there. Bows, there are no bow options, but we have got the Levy set, which has got some bows in there as well. Spears, yes, there's spears, and then shields. So I suppose the only thing really missing is a mace. But we do have mace on here, which we could possibly use, albeit the arms fully mailed. So you'd probably want to use a corresponding mailed arm as well to try and make sure that the aesthetic wasn't broken. There's no break in sort of like the one arm being fully mailed and one being half mailed. No axes either, but I suppose axes aren't really called out really as a separate weapon. They just count as a hand weapon. Okay, so would like to have seen some more mace on here. That's fine, right. So that's the foot sergeant. So again, that's another 24, and you need to buy bases for those two. Now, on to the final box. So these are Peasant and Levy. These are suitable from 1100 up to 1350, but arguably they could possibly do for before 1100 because they're just essentially peasants. There are more figures in here, so there are 30 in here, which is a lot of models. I mean, I find the sweet spot for groups in Baron's War is anywhere between 5 and 8, give or take. Even if you were using your green sort of like contingent as Levy, 30 is a lot. And actually, adding all these up, there's close to sort of like 70 odd models here, which is almost as much as I've got in my collection of metal. Metal Barons War models. But let's have a look what it says on the back. So 30 Levy with a variety of weapons, including spear, bow, club, sling, axe, sword, and a variety of farm implements. So that's quite interesting because they're not all like intentional weapons. I like that there's slingers in here. They look like they can be quite good in game. But also as well, Levy, they're quite limited in actually what they can use in game. So they have a hand weapon, a sling, a spear, or an improvised two-handed weapon. So not a lot of options. So you can't give these guys, can't give them bows. So that's interesting. Can't give them bows anyway. But you could use the bowman as sort of like green bowman or green spearman. There's nothing stopping you from doing that because some of the metal models actually look quite similar in their aesthetic. Sling, spear, improvised two-handed weapon, yeah. Now in here is even more plastic, but I know for a fact 2 of them are these weapon sprues. So we've already looked at those. They're essentially the bills and the spears. Then onto here, again, very similar in the layout. There's 6 lower halves, 6 upper halves. We've got a selection of 12 heads with a variety of some hooded, some, oh no, it's 13 heads with that one there. Some hooded, some unhooded. We've got bows, 4 bows as options. We've got this, what looks like some sort of flail. We've got a bill hook. We've got a sling, a club, a sickle, a farming sickle. There. We've got some other bits and pieces. More slings, knives, some arrows, a battered up sword. A two-handed axe, interestingly. So you could go for the improvised two-handed weapon. We've got forks, pitchforks, axes. So there's a good selection on there. And looking at the torsos, all of it, what I've got to say about all of these is they've got a nice level of detail on them. For all the plastics. What I'll do is I'll try and sort of like do some kit bashing, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the sort of things I've been able to make. But first impressions, very good. There's a lot of models here. I think this roughly RRP would be about £80 for the 3 boxes. And if you were buying anything for another game system, so anything from Games Workshop, £80 wouldn't get you anywhere near as many models. And with this, you could plausibly, quite easily, create a very decent retinue. I'll put some together, see what we can do, and I'll see if what areas of the range, what gaps we can fill.